What we have here is everything that we would recommend for a typical Go Kit. Of course, they have to be customized to have all of the things that you need for a daily, to sustain your daily life. But the typical things that we always recommend people have are some cash, first of all. A lot of times there are electrical issues or challenges, so sometimes you may not be able to use your debit card to purchase things that you need. So we always recommend that you have some cash. If you can, have multiple denominations, so that way if there's not change, you don't have to pay a lot extra for things that you may otherwise have to. We also recommend that you take a photo of your identification, your insurance cards, any other important information that you may use to obtain services or to replace your identification should they be lost in any type of disaster. We also recommend if you have an old cell phone, throw that in your Go Kit. If for some reason you lose your primary cell phone or it gets damaged while you're escaping from a hazard, you can have a backup phone in there that can be reactivated by your cell service company. Also recommend understanding what are the local conditions that you may be dealing with and what should you have with you. So if you're escaping from a wildfire, you might want to have an N95 mask with you so that you can prevent yourself from harmful wildfire smoke. If you're in flood conditions, have a poncho in there just to help keep yourself dry. Being wet is extremely miserable, so just having this quick little thing can make all the difference in comfort if you're stuck in the elements for any reason. Understanding what makes you comfortable. So if you're going to a shelter situation, or another area, are you sensitive to loud sounds or noises? Have earplugs or other sound protection with you. Emergency blankets. They're certainly not the most comfortable, but they're gonna help you stay warm, and that's needed in a disaster. You may be out in the elements for a little while. Really quick, inexpensive option that you can just throw in any Go Kit, won't take up much space. We also recommend you have 3 days of clothes with you. So 3 days of socks, 3 days of underwear, 3 days of other type of comfortable but compact clothing that you might be able to throw in your go bag and not need every day, but you can leave in your go bag. We also recommend medication. If you're able to, get a backup prescription of any of your medications to have in your go bag, all the better. If you cannot get backup prescriptions, put your prescriptions or anything else you don't have duplicates on a short list that you keep with your go bag, so you know those are the items that you have to grab really quickly that are not in your go bag. Extra pair of eyeglasses if you have them, or reading glasses, throw those in there. Chargers for your cell phones or other electronic devices that you might have with you. Any durable medical equipment that you use, if you have a backup device, have that in your Go Kit. If you don't, again, have that on your list so that you remember it to grab quickly. That could include items like hearing aids, dentures, canes, anything that you might use for everyday life. Have a backup. If you don't have a backup, put it on that list. Other things we recommend are typical emergency type items like glow sticks. A lot of times the power is out, so if you're in an area where you can't see, these come in really handy to help find things that are like in your Go Kit. Your everyday toiletry items like deodorant, shave gel, shampoo, toothpaste. A lot of times if you go to a shelter, we're going to provide you with a comfort kit. But if you happen to be going to a family member's house or a friend's house or somewhere else, they may not have those extra items for you. So it's always good to have in your Go Kit. Also recommend having little hand warmers that you can use to stay warm. A lot of times if you're stuck in your vehicle for any amount of time, you might be subject to the temperature changes. It might be really cold, so this might be handy to have. We talked about the food, the water, the medicine. Food does not have to be amazing in your disaster go kit. It's really about keeping you alive. So you can find ration food, shelf stable food that will last several years that you can put in your go kit without having to worry about expiration. It's also usually packaged really well so that the critters don't want to get into it. You don't want to be throwing Girl Scout cookies in there. This is more of a comfort item. I put these up here kind of as a don't do and don't do because these attract the critters. And if you keep your go kit in anywhere other than a place where there's not critters, it could be consumed and destroyed. Always have bottled water with you, but we also recommend having some type of filtration system or other way. Water, of course, is the most essential thing to keep us alive, so the more ways that we can have to hydrate ourselves and those with us, the better. I mentioned the toiletry items. The other thing that we like recommending people have is a little comfort item. So it might be a stuffed animal, it might be a picture of a loved one. It might just be a token or a stone or something that you hold on to that brings you comfort and peace during stressful moments. Also, matches or a lighter. We don't typically aren't lighting fires, but it's always good to have a way to have fire if needed. Lastly, I'm going to say always, always, always have a whistle with you. A lot of times our voice may not work, but we're able to use the whistle. And I like thinking of the movie Titanic when she's out there and she's screaming for help and they can't hear her voice, but they can hear a whistle. A lot of times there's a lot of confusion, other noises, other things that may drown out voices, but whistles can usually be heard. Doesn't have to be fancy, just anything that'll make that loud whistle sound. The other considerations are having a contact information card in there. A contact information card that includes the important people that are in your circle that you may want notified if there's an emergency, if for some reason you're found unresponsive. Also, a place where you can list all of your doctors, all of your medications, all of those things that you need for a daily basis for your life, and that you may not remember off the top of your head, especially if you don't have your medication, your prescription bottle or something with you. Other thing I would mention is anything can be used for a go kit. So this is a pillowcase. This works just as easily as a backpack. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. So don't feel like you need to spend a lot of money on a go kit. The other thing that I would recommend that didn't make it over here is a battery or solar powered or hand crank radio. So you can get emergency notifications even if your cell service is down. Oh, thank you. And this is a fancy handy dandy flashlight and weather radio and just traditional radio. So you can get all the information you need whether you have cell service or not. And you can see.